our host right at the moment. So I wanted to welcome you all to our quarterly town hall meeting. Today we have a pretty straightforward agenda. We've got our executive director, Karen Belcher, with some updates, as well as information from our chief operations officer, Brian McManus. So welcome. Welcome. We're trying to get everybody on camera right now, but it seems to be having an issue here. So let's see. Oh, Brian, there you are. Can you give everybody camera access? It's not letting me. Welcome, Becky. Can you hear me? Wonderful. Brian, can you hear me? Okay, awesome. Thank you. So welcome, everybody. We're just about to get started. Karen, are you with us? There you are. Hi, Karen.
Michael, it looks like you're talking, but I can't hear anything. So I'm not, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I can't hear a thing. So I'm thinking I'm gonna jump out and come back in and see if that reconnects me, because I have nothing. So I don't even know what you said.
Okay, well, I said welcome. So Becky, do you want to go first and talk about the Farm Bill a little bit while we're waiting for Karen?
Good afternoon, everybody. So while we're working on some of these little technical hiccups, I just wanted to share with you all, in case you did not see the alert that went out, I will be hosting a Farm Bill 101 webinar that is scheduled for Wednesday, July 26th. So that is coming up, and it is at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So I strongly encourage you to register for that. The Farm Bill may be new material for a lot of you, and it's also been 5 years since we went through the last one. So it's a good opportunity to learn the basics of the Farm Bill, and I'll be going over just that general overview of programs that are affected by the Farm Bill, as well as what our policy priorities are, so that you can join the Food Bank of Central New York and advocates across the country in advocating for strengthening and protecting two programs in particular, TFAP and SNAP. And I will also be talking to you about different ways that you can help to support those efforts. So again, please consider registering. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to me or the agency relations team.
All right, wonderful. Well, thank you, Becky. Karen, are you with us now?
Yes, I had to just rearrange some speakers apparently, but I can hear you. So I'm assuming you want me to jump into HIPNAP funding.
Sure.
Sorry.
I already introduced you, so.
Yeah, sorry, I missed all that, Michael. My apologies. It's going to be one of those days.
It sure is.
All right, so go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Karen.
Oh, sorry. So HIPNAP funding, you all should have received letters, award letters. Wanted to just let you know that at this time, the funding that the food bank has received is only that 34.5 million. Well, we didn't receive that. So the 34.5 million is what was awarded to HIPNAP, and then split across the state based on the regions and the amounts that were allocated to each region. So that 22 million that we advocated for has also been built into the budget, but we have not heard anything around that funding and how it is being allocated around the state. So as soon as we hear, obviously, we will let you know if there's additional dollars that are available. I am hearing that they are going to make some decisions or offer some options for that to be distributed by the end of this week, early next week, but just don't know what that means. Is it all going to come to the food banks? Is it going to go through some other organizations? Just don't know. So we're waiting to hear from DOH how that 22 million will be split across the state. But for the allocation that we received for this fiscal year for 23-24, it's very similar to the funding that we had in 22-23, which means we had the same pool of funds basically to do food allocations and operations support to all of you. We did have an increased number of agencies who made requests for both food and operations support and the same amount of funds. So as you can do the math, you can see that we probably may have had to adjust some allocations because we had more individuals that were asking for support for this fiscal year. But what I can tell you is we had $2.5 million in requests for food, and we have $1,390,025 that was allocated. That is around 100,000 more than we allocated last year. So even though our dollars remained the same for funding, we did try to put some more dollars into that food line, knowing that you are all seeing an increase and need some extra help in purchasing those foods that you need to help support the communities. And obviously we are working to try to find additional funds. If it's not through HIPNAP, are there other dollars out there in the community that we can get to help support all of you in this next year as you are, continue to meet the needs that you are seeing currently. So please know that we are continuing to work. We're not stopping just because HIPNAP has awarded us funding. We will continue to see if we can find support to help you as we continue. And then as far as operation support goes, we only have available to us $354,459 in the grant to allocate out to OSE. And we had $1,133,000 requested. So 1,133,000 in operation support requests. So that's a big, significant gap in funds available versus funds requested. So we know that you are in need of these dollars. We're trying to find, additional support for you as we move through the year. So bear with us. Hopefully we'll have some good news on that 22 million allocation. Our hope is that we get a good piece of that or similar amount as to what we received last year. And hopefully we will know that in the next week or two. So once we do, we will be working to try to get some extra dollars out if we get funded. So stay tuned. That's all I know about HIPNAP, Michael.
Can I just add to that real quick, Karen? And I just want to, again, thank everybody that's on the call that did take advocacy action steps around the state budget. Initially, just as a reminder, the state budget that was proposed by the governor's office would have been a cut to HIPNAP dollars. So because of from last year. So because of the advocacy efforts of you all and other advocates across the state, we were able to maintain the same level of overall state funding that we saw last year in this current budget. So again, as Karen mentioned, we're just waiting to hear back on what happens with those additional funds that we were able to secure and what portion of that we'll be seeing. But I did want to thank everybody for that effort.
All right, thank you, Becky. So if you have not received your HipNap award packet, it is likely in the mail. A number of them had to be mailed out because we had some incomplete email addresses on the applications, but that's okay. So they've been mailed to you. A number of people have received them and returned them already via email. So thank you for doing that. It does save us quite a bit of time and paperwork, believe it or not. So thank you. So if you have not received anything, it's probably in the mail. It is a multi-day process to get that information out to folks in the multiple ways in which it goes out. So I think the final batch went out in the mail on Friday, and then there's a couple of stragglers that we sent out just yesterday, I think. So so thank you. Brian McManus, would you please give us a detail about food product sourcing and operations?
I'd be happy to. Thank you very much, Michael. Good afternoon to everyone. Good to be with you all for a quick food sourcing update. So in the category of purchased food, I'm pleased to report that we are seeing very favorable cost trends. I know that you're probably aware of that as you know, there's a broader conversation across all industries, but across the food industry. But we are even seeing some of these favorable costs in advance of when you will encounter this at the grocery store, and it's part of the complicated nuances of the American food system. But things are in our favor. Costs are going down after quite a lengthy time of significant increase. So that is a good thing. So all of our food dollars for the network here should be able to stretch a little further. As far as additional sourcing, so we have been renewed with Nourish New York funding. So you will continue to see on the menu New York State produce items, multiple New York State dairy items, eggs. We will continue with the frozen New York State fruits and vegetables that we've been able to bring on board in the last year. We're always exploring additional items. I know that based partly on feedback through this forum, we were able to pursue and begin sourcing some New York State black beans, initially dried, but we are hopeful to move into canned black beans with some kind of consistency. We're really just working with the producers to get their inventory up to speed so we could bring that in. And with all Nourish New York items, it should indicate free NNY when you see it on Agency Express, and there is no cost to your agency, so that's a great benefit to us. In the donated food realm, we are still actively pursuing growth in that area. I'm pleased to report that our donated inbound for this past fiscal year that is just concluding was up by, I don't want to make a mistake here, overall a 24% increase from the year before. So that's a credit to our food sourcing team, and hopefully you all are seeing the results of that. And in a, I'm going to share my screen here because I know people want to know about USDA inbounds. You know, there's been a little bit of a roller coaster with that food availability lately. So let me see if let me know if, Michael, are people seeing that screen, do you think? Okay. So what I want to illustrate to you here is this is quarterly. This is not a monthly chart. So 3-month periods of time, beginning with 1 year ago now, so July through September 22, you can see that our quarterly acquisition for a 3-month period was around 20,000 cases of USDA food. That shot up significantly into the high 50s for the period of October through December of 22. And then we saw a decrease to below 30,000 cases as we rounded into the beginning of 2023. A little bit stronger this past 3 months that have just gone by. So all of those blue columns reflect what has just transpired in our past fiscal year. The next one, the tall red one, is what we are, the commitments that we have in terms of cases for this upcoming quarter. So July, August, and September. And you can see that that is on par with the high point of last year. That's nearly 60,000 cases that we have commitments to bring in. So they're not here yet, but we feel very strongly that they will be here this late in the game. We can have a high level of confidence that that's what it'll look like. So that's good. It doesn't help if we then, I mean, it does help, but not long term if we then go into a period of decline, which we do not expect. So what you're looking at in the green column is our estimate of cases for the final quarter of this calendar year, 2023. So October through December of 2023, we expect that level to be at our high levels for the past year. And I feel very good about this estimate. It's not this far out. There can always be some changes, but it looks very favorable for us. So we expect the remainder of 23 to have strong inbound of USDA. And so this is just, you know, a chart on a screen, but to put it into perspective, the distribution at high points when we had very high levels of USDA inventory and agencies were able to access a really strong variety and a really strong quantity, the outbound demand was probably 16 to 18,000 cases per month. So that was, you know, a robust availability when you were seeing tons of USDA. This would be nearly 60,000 for a 3-month period. So that is the level of demand historically, even in high times, even in times of COVID. This should be where we need to be for the next 6 months. That doesn't mean we're going to stop doing what we're doing. And if you're on the fence about participating in any kind of advocacy work around this, this didn't happen without advocacy. Okay, this next strong 6 months, I feel great about it. I'm happy to be here sharing that news, especially there have been some challenges in sourcing with USDA and other things. So this is favorable for us, but it won't stay if you don't work with Becky, is probably the best way that I can put it. And we will be back where we were. So this is good. This is where we want to be, but it doesn't happen without work. And let me see if I can get this right. So as far as what's coming in the next quarter, this is just a breakdown of a very general breakdown of the categories. So about 18% of it will be refrigerated product. We have a lot of fresh produce coming in, but also we do expect some cheese and eggs to come in. Frozen, about 12% will be frozen foods, and there's a mix of frozen fruit, vegetables, and some protein items. I believe we are expecting the return of some poultry and also some additional seafood items, but the bulk of it, 70% of that, will be dry goods. A lot of canned fruits and vegetables, some canned beans, and some of the shelf-stable juices, the rice, the common USDA items that people are always looking for. So I'm pleased to report on that mix as well. So that's kind of a brief overview of our food sourcing outlook for the near future. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, but continue talking. Other opportunities. We have right now a list of between 20 and 30 retail grocery donors that are looking for partners in the community to provide donations directly to as part of our retail partnership program. So I know that we talk about it each and every time I can get anyone's ear to listen to me, but that gap is closing. We have been successful in pairing a lot of these stores off in the past year. So everyone that's come on board in that, we appreciate it. As far as the remaining stores that we do hope to get paired up in probably within the next 6 months, 7 months, I would love to see that list down to 0, that every store that wants to donate has someone to donate it to. So please, if you're interested, let us know through the email address that Michael always provides. I think that's agencyinfo@foodbank. And for just for anyone that is participating with a retail donor that is receiving goods directly from a grocery store, and you're unsure about whether you should be reporting those donations or if you just haven't gotten around to it, that's an unfortunate situation for the donor because they are not getting credit for what they're doing. It is an unfortunate situation for us because we're not living up to what we have communicated to the donor. And it's an unfortunate situation for the recipients of that food at your agency because that donor is probably on this list to be paired up with someone else. So if you're on the fence or you're unsure about whether you should be reporting, that's also something to reach out for, because I know we've talked about this in the past. There is now law in New York State that these food generators must donate this food, and if they cannot demonstrate that they're doing it, they want to move on quickly. Lastly, as you probably have heard, our facility here, our distribution facility, is under construction. We are undergoing an expansion to better serve the network, but there are some disruptions that happen with that, and our agency pickup process has been one of those that has been disrupted, and we've had to make some changes to that. More changes will be coming soon. The timeline of some of this construction has changed, and probably within the next few weeks, there's going to be, unfortunately, a change to how we're currently doing the pickup process. So you can expect a communication about that soon. We're working as best we can with our construction agency to identify when that disruption will take place, and we will definitely be as prepared as we can be to continue to serve you. And as far as that goes, we appreciate everyone's patience. This is in service of a better result long term, but there's some headaches along the way. So I apologize for those. For anyone that ends up adversely affected by this, please let us know what the challenges are, and we'll do our best to overcome them. That's my information for today. We're going to take questions at the end. All right. Thank you, everyone, for your time.
I'm just going to follow up quickly on what Brian just talked about, and I feel like I'm just interrupting everybody. I'm sorry. Brian, did your projections include that additional USDA funding that was announced last year? We started seeing those pounds early this year, correct?
So our projections are committed loads.
Okay.
So it's a mixture of all of the resources, but this is when we know the food will arrive. I don't like to, as far as that fourth quarter prediction, I feel very good about it, but this far out, I don't like to guarantee anything, but those would be ordered and committed loads.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I just wanted to share with everybody some exciting news that was announced towards the end of June of this year. USDA announced that they would be providing nearly $1 billion to go towards additional TFAP commodity purchases that will come through the Emergency Food Network. So we're still waiting for word on what the timing of that all looks like and when we'll start seeing those additional commodities being offered to us that we can take advantage of. But again, this is really great news that USDA is recognizing there is still a heightened level of need. In particular, they acknowledged the impact that the end of the SNAP emergency allotments was having on households who are in need of food assistance. And they're hoping that these additional TFAP commodities will help to alleviate some of that pressure. So I did want to make sure to share that good news as Brian was showing those committed loads and mentioning that the reason that this is coming through is because attention is being drawn by advocates that there is still demand for this and there is still very heightened need and that we need that government support to accomplish this. So, you know, we do have to continue being vocal about that and with the hope that we see results like we have. So I just wanted to share that good news.
Awesome. Thank you, Becky. Yeah, that certainly is good news that TFAP product certainly does help. I wanted to also update some folks. You know, we've been kind of talking about a couple of things related to TFAP and HEPNAP, and we are noticing an increase across the network from, you know, a variety of different program types, most notably in some of the meal sites are seeing pretty significant increases in foot traffic. So we are aware of that. And if we look at the month over month numbers, it looks like we have about a 5% increase as an entire network month over month, which is a lot of folks. It's a couple 100,000 people each month that we're seeing in the different programs. So we are aware of it. We hear about everything that's going on in the community, and so this kind of drives our work. So with that information in mind, I want to kind of shift a little bit to talking about a much requested topic, which is the new intake forms that are available out there on our website for us to use. So we've chatted briefly about it before. Last year, the USDA's administrator in New York State, who is the Office of General Services, approached us and informed us that we would be moving to a standardized intake form across the state, so that every food bank across New York State would be using the same TFAP intake form. Historically, a lot of you may recall that we had a little bit of flexibility. We could add different categories, different questions. We could add multiple signature lines. And last year, when the OGS and TFAP and the USDA came to us, they said, no, we're going to not have that on our form. It's not necessary for their purposes. So they removed it from the form, and they discontinued allowing us to make any changes or adjustments to the intake form, which we have heard from many of you, and we recognize that that is quite a challenge. The intake form is probably the easiest and best way to gather that information from our neighbors who come to visit our food programs. So what we did to try to help out with that this year, because we could not make any changes, is we also posted a neighbor intake form right there on our forms and resources page, along with the TFAP intake form. We added the 2023 neighbor intake addendum. And this is a form that you can use in your food program, and hopefully it'll capture the rest of the information that we used to capture on the TFAP form, but it does so on a separate form as requested by OGS. We just ask that you not staple the forms together. You can paperclip them, but please do not staple them. This neighbor intake form, and I'll pull it up here and I can share what it looks like. I can try to share what it looks like anyways, maybe not. The neighbor intake form will provide you with a space for name, address, telephone and email. If you want to collect those from partner agencies, or sorry, for neighbors who are coming in, that's perfectly okay. It also has a place where you can list household members, such as by name, and then also indicate whether they're a child, adult, or a senior. You can also fill in, there's a spot for you to fill in a proxy pickup name. We know many people pick up for their neighbors and others who are either homebound or unable to make it to the food program. So we added a proxy pickup name line where you can also add that as well. And then there's at least 12 signature boxes on there so you can track each time the person comes to the food program. And again, this is all information that we were explicitly told not to put on the TFAP intake form moving forward. So that is why we put that out there for you. One of the other opportunities for us, if you haven't already gotten on the list, is to participate in the Service Insights form and use the electronic intake process that we've been rolling out for about a year now. And that process kind of gets rid of the need for the TFAP intake form, and as well as this separate neighbor intake form to help you track information. So this Service Insights, if you are interested and you're not on the list yet, please drop us an email and let us know at agency info, and we'll make sure you get over to Kristen and her team to get on that list. We're hearing some really great feedback from the programs that are already on that list. They didn't even have to worry about updating their intake forms because it was done automatically for them. So it's just business as usual on July 1st. Now with this form, I do not have an exact date confirmation yet, but we anticipate that this form will change again in February when the federal government releases poverty levels for the 2023 year. That's typically done in January, and we anticipate the USDA will release a new intake form probably sometime in February. So be alert. It's very different from many years. I mean, we've got 40-ish years of 35, 40 years of using this current process that we have been using. So it is a big change for everybody. But as those changes are necessary through the federally funded programs, we will make sure that we're rolling them out to you so that we can continue participating in those programs. Additionally, we have just received word from the Office of General Services about the USDA's TFAP program that by September 30th of 2023, there will be a new TFAP agreement. Many of you have seen or heard of those when we're at your programs doing site visits. We're checking for that TFAP agreement. There's actually going to be a new one, and similar to the existing one that's there now, you'll have to keep a signed copy on file at your food distribution site in case they come around, and they do actually come around. We just had some folks in Cortland got a visit from some people at OGS recently, and I'm very happy to say there was no findings, so thank you. But they do come around and they do look for these things. So in probably, I'm going to say mid-August or so, we'll start sending those out. Likely we'll send them out electronically. That's a great and easy way. Additionally, there is only one signature required from each food program. The second signature will be Karen's. That's the second signature that's required on that form. So it should hopefully be a little easier to return than the HIPMAP agreements, which require 2 signatures. So that is my USDA addendum update. So I guess we're going to be open to some questions. So we've got some hands. Brian, can you give me a hand? Literally.
Yeah, so I can allow you to talk and ask your questions. We want to start with the questions in the chat and then go to those with hands, or you want to do the hands first?
Let's start with the questions in the chat and then we'll go to hands. Will there be a fact sheet with instructions such as do not staple, etc.? Yes, we are currently putting that together as soon as we have additional information from OGS.
And there was a question about having, sorry if we missed it, but are we to be having folks fill out the new intake form for July as we have previously with the new fiscal year, which is yes. Please, as of July 1st, start using the new intake forms.
Yes. And then the next question was, does this mean that we will no longer be reporting children, adults, and seniors? And that answer is no. We still need to report the number of children, and adults, and seniors for the New York State's hunger prevention, the HEPNAP program. So we will be still collecting that information.
There was a question about the new TFAP agreement in September. That needs to be kept on site. Correct. So once you sign and return the agreement, we will send you a signed copy that has Karen's signature on it back to you, and that you're supposed to keep a copy on site. It doesn't need to be posted or anything like that. You just need to keep a copy and have it accessible in case when we visit or in the event you get visited by the New York State Office of General Services.
All right, Brian, you want to start with the hands now?
Yeah, well, I'll just go down who's on my list. Karen Murphy. I'm gonna make it so you're allowed to talk. If for some reason you don't have a microphone, you can always type it into the chat, but we'll start with Karen Murphy. Go ahead and unmute Karen if you can. Okay, go ahead and ask your question. Looks like you unmuted, but I can't hear anything. So Karen, do you want to type it into the chat? Are you able to do that? And we'll go to the next person, or we can come back to you at the end here. Hold on. Next is Jean Westcott. Go ahead and unmute, Jean, and you can ask your question.
I'm sorry. I don't know how I got a raised hand, but I don't have a question.
No problem, Jean.
I did not.
Oh, sorry. We'll move on to, let's see if we have anybody else. I think those are the only two. So Karen, we'll try Karen one more time here. Karen, can you unmute and ask your question? Karen, if you can't ask or you can't type it in the chat, I'll give you a call later and we can follow up and answer any questions you have. So, all right, let's see what else we have in the chat here. Let's go back. Okay.
Who is the contact for Service Insights? For Service Insights, please go ahead and just drop us an email at agencyinfo. We'll get it to the right person. We have a couple of different people working in different areas. We have a person stationed in the North Country who's been helping folks up there, and we have another person, 2 people down here in Syracuse in this area. So let us know, and we'll make sure that gets over to them for Service Insights. Go ahead.
There was a question with the new paperwork that we have the clients do every year as of July 1st. Is the income going to change, as our paperwork still has the same income as the old paperwork? So the income guidelines should have changed on the new intake form. So make sure you are using the new ones for 23. And there also is new income guidelines posted on the website as well. So make sure you have the new income guidelines posted.
Yeah, and Brian, those were actually updated earlier this spring. Just the intake form was only recently made available.
Okay.
So it probably is the same one.
Okay.
That was that some people downloaded, I think in April, I think it was available.
The question is, with the 22 million from the state that has yet to be allocated, would that lead to increased HIPNAP funding, or will that lead to different funding like the state legislative funds?
Yeah, I can answer that one, Brian. So we had both last year. So we had dollars designated for legislative funds. But then we also had additional HIPNAP dollars that I think came to you via grants, additional grant dollars. It really is going to depend on how Department of Health tells us we can spend it. So please, at this point, we don't know that. So as we learn more, we will definitely make sure that we're communicating that with you. I wish I had an answer. Sorry.
And we also had a question, is there a seasonality to the USDA seafood deliveries? I'm not sure if Brian can address that.
There is not. No. All of the process and the decision making that goes into that is a little bit high level for us to totally understand. I think that we in the months to come will expect to receive some catfish, a type of whitefish, and shrimp, which from what little I know of fisheries have no ties together. So.
Yes, Tracy, we will make the recording available. It should be posted on our website in the next couple of days. So if you missed any part of this presentation, you can certainly look back on that. There's a question about, is there a password for Meal Connect? I assume they just reach out to us and we can get them that information.
Yes, so everybody that is doing donation reporting or retail is receiving retail donations, that reporting is done through the Meal Connect platform, and everyone would have their own individual login and password. So do we know who asked that?
Gigi with Cas Cares.
Okay, we'll get that right out.
There's a question about, we have been told there's a form to submit a contact phone number change. Yes, so on our website under forms and resources is the agency change of information form. So anytime you make changes to your program, please fill out that form, and I can pop a link in the chat in just a second here for you.
Brian, I did put one in there.
Oh, okay, perfect. I just haven't scrolled down that far.
Yep, that's okay. Can we get more of the USDA products when they're gone? Probably, that's a Brian question.
I'm not sure I understand. Once the product is gone. So we do try to acquire products that have been demonstrated to be popular amongst recipients and agencies. That really drives the choices that we are able to make. But and we touched on this briefly before, that generally the way that works with USDA products is we are offered what we're offered, and it really comes down often to a simple yes or no for us, and we are and have been for a long time an all the way yes food bank. So once a product is gone, we certainly try to have it not be gone, but if it is, we try to get it again.
Just one comment I'll read. We just did a pickup today and just want to give kudos to the warehouse team, who are great and super friendly with pickups. So we appreciate the comments. We're very fortunate. We have a great team in our warehouse. So thank you.
Yeah, and Brian, I just put a note in there too, because just as they are disrupted by this process change, our staff is as well. So they are adapting and adjusting at the same time you are. So thank you for that note. We will pass that along.
See where there's a question about, did you say that Karen was going to be the 501c3 signature for the grant agreements? That would be,
No.
that should be your 501c3 representative. So.
Yeah, I'll be the food bank signature.
Yes.
Please have your rep sign.
Yes. So the HEPNAP agreements need 2 signatures. The HEPNAP agreements that you currently have out and about right now need 2 signatures. The USDA TFAP agreements that we'll be sending out probably in August, about a month from now, once we get over or get in all of the HEPNAP agreements. The TFAP agreements will need 1 signature from your program. It can be your coordinator, it can be director, somebody who's responsible at your program. And that's all you need. When you return that, Karen Belcher will sign on behalf of the Food Bank of Central New York.
One more product question. It looks like will we be getting any dry milk powder?
We most likely will not in the immediate future. That hasn't been an item that's even been on offer from the USDA in recent times. And as far as making a purchase of it, obviously there is some demand, but it is to the best of our ability to forecast, it's minimal. So unfortunately, we just haven't been able to carry that. Now, if that were to come available to us in another format through a donation or something, but certainly not something we would turn down. But for those other two avenues, it's not likely that we would get dried milk powder. We do and have been fortunate to continue to stock shelf-stable fluid milk. So if you're looking for a non-perishable milk item, that is a better item. If you're looking for it, the powdered dry milk, as sometimes it serves as an ingredient. Unfortunately, I don't anticipate that being in our inventory in the near future.
And then one more question we had, will the beef stew pouches be made available again? I believe that was a USDA product as well, was it not?
That was a USDA product, and we do not have any committed beef stew coming up in this quarter. If the opportunity comes up, we do always try to access beef stew when it becomes available in whatever format it's offered. We don't really get to determine that. That's kind of, the packaging is done by the USDA. Sometimes it's the pouch, sometimes it's the can. But again, we're not going to say no to it.
Right.
Brian, both Brian, sorry. I always forget we have two. I just want to throw out there, there were some questions about future product. We will be sending out a product sourcing survey in the next couple of weeks. We're trying to let the HIPNAP emails all die down here. So we'll be sending out a product sourcing survey to ask you about the food preferences, the food items that you're sourcing outside of the food bank, and some of what your food bank, or I'm sorry, what your food pantry needs are. So I encourage you to, take a few minutes and fill that out. It's not a short survey. There's a couple of detailed questions about the products you're sourcing locally, and please take a few minutes and fill that out to get us some feedback on what we can look for in the future.
I would love to get as many of responses to that as we can possibly get. That will really give us direction in expanding the inventory that we do carry. So please fill that out. It will help.
Yep, that's a big one this year. So, all right.
It looks like Phil has his hand up. Phil, do you have a question? I can make it if you want to unmute and ask your question.
Thank you. Some time ago, we had applications for commercial refrigerators. Can you tell me if that's going to happen soon or later? Do you know?
Phil, the HIPNAP stuff was mailed on Friday.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yep.
And I know Becky has a couple of things she wants to share, so we'll go back to Becky for a second.
Hi, everybody. So Karen and I both just got an email while this call was happening, and there's some information that we wanted to make sure that you had. So particularly to Oswego County. So this is in response to households who receive SNAP who may have lost food because of the flooding that occurred. They can request replacement benefits, and that is time sensitive. So I'm going to put a link to the documentation that was included in that email in the chat box right now. And I believe that Heidi Webb would be able to help assist with any questions that folks may have around this. as well. I apologize, I don't have a ton of information, but there is a form and it says that it has to be submitted to their local SNAP office within 10 days of the loss. So again, this is time sensitive. So if you hear from any of your neighbors that are accessing your program and they mention that they have had food loss and they are receiving SNAP. Thank you, Michael, for putting Heidi's email in there. And sorry, that link is super long that I just put in, but that has a form with, or a page with just some general information and next steps, as well as the form in both English and Spanish that needs to be completed.
So if anybody is on from Oswego County, like Martha, I know you're on, if we need to email that to you, we can, because once this is done, you won't have access to that link. So hopefully everybody can capture it quick. But if not, we can try to get that emailed out, and hopefully your distribution is going okay today, because you were right there near where that big flood was when I went home the other day. So we got hit pretty hard in Oswego County. So this is a nice thing to see happening to help those families that were impacted.
Karen, we can get that out to Oswego County partners this afternoon.
Okay, great. Thanks, Michael.
Okay, it looks like we got through quite a few questions and we're coming up on time. So I wanted to take a moment to thank everybody for tuning in today. There's a lot of stuff going on. If you have questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We're happy to answer them. I've actually been at my desk a little bit this week, so a few people have got me on the phone and I think I've surprised them. So, but thank you again for all you're doing in the community, and you know, certainly our work here continues. So let us know what's going on in your communities. Use the comment section when you make your monthly reports. Let us know what you're seeing, and we'll keep an eye on things and keep everybody updated as we have more information. So thank you again, everybody, and I wish you all a great afternoon.
Thanks, everyone.